Nokomis Fields, where the umpires are in the middle of the ground. Comfortable victory to play Minnesota, so I think on the way, so I'm sure they'll be. And but a beautiful warm. There'll still be some guys suffering with heat come later stages of the game, I'm sure. But really just a good day for footy right here in Minnesota. AFL always does a great job. Man, Pete Davis to help out. Coming in. And we'll get we have a fairly good field here. It's a little uneven in spots. The wind's favouring no one. It's coming across. In this game, Minnesota we have Captain Werner and the Chicago player with the knee brace. He's tall and gangly, but he's got some speed on him. He's deceptively quick, and he's starting to get into this game. Let's see what his kick at goal is like. This is where it really helps to put these ones away. Oh, it's an ugly looking kick, but it's straight through the middle. A mongrel punt, but it was going nowhere but through the middle, right through the high diddle. And another goal on the board to Chicago. So scored 2 goals to this quarter to Minnesota's solitary goal. So we have Minnesota 6 goals 1 to Chicago 5 goals 2. We are back, bringing the ball back into the centre. Umpire Arnott checks his numbers. We're only allowed 4 in the square for centre bounces. Up goes the ball. Chicago does it easily again. Quick handball, but Minnesota have brought their numbers in now. It's a nice cut from the Chicago player, floats it up high, and Driscoll brings it down for Minnesota, hits it to the boundary. There's a nice tackle. Umpire didn't see it, but we are out of bounds, and we're going to throw it in on the half-forward line for Chicago. Ball in short, and it's hit back to the boundary, but Chicago just keeps it in. Another couple of handballs. It's still right on the boundary line. It's anyone's contest, and we see the ball roll back out of bounds again. Boundary umpire brings it in. It's a nice deep throw this time. Punched by Chicago, off hands. Oh, Fashon has that like a ball on a string. He takes a bounce. 1 bounce, 2 bounces. He's about to get caught from behind. He kicks it. Oh, flubs it, but it's rolling towards goal. Bouncing, and unfortunately it bounces through for a behind. Fish is right on him. He handballs out of emergency. Fish didn't let him go. That's going to be a free kick for holding the man. Chicago looking for a lead. It's a high kick up to the half-forward line. Everybody up. 1 guy down. Punches it again. Lots of Minnesota players there. And a nice short kick. Falls short right into Joe Stabler's hands. So he kicks it all high. We're going to get some rain out of this one. Who's that? Takes a nice mark. Big guy from Chicago. Takes a nice contested mark Eyes for the ball only. Gets up a little proppy. Goes back, takes a kick up to the half forward line. Oh, nice body position there by the Chicago tall guy. Takes a nice mark. Hurries on quickly. It's a rough looking kick up to the forward pocket. Oh, the Chicago guy just fell in his pocket. I don't think he even knew that ball was coming to him. He turned around and landed right in his lap. This is Zinnel he's from Minnesota. He's playing for Chicago, and he loves to snap goals. So don't look for him to pass here, is what I'm saying. He arcs around a little bit, but he over-allowed for it, and it's through for a behind. Minnesota trying to set something up with leads going all directions. They go deep to the boundary. Hansen gets his hand on it. It should be a ball in. Umpire's going to throw it in from the boundary. There's Autumn Bricker all the way from New York, actually came out to do boundary throw-ins by the look of it. Balls it in, Pony takes the front position, Harville from Minnesota reads it well, floats it, and it just bounces inside the line for a throw in. Ball's in right in front of the camera here. There's a nice contest there. Minnesota read it off nicely. Fashon out, handballs out even wider. Can he read the bounce? Back to Fashon. He's under pressure now, but he dropped the ball. I'm not sure what quite happened there. And umpire Arnott says dropping the ball. So Chicago brings it in deep, right on the boundary line, and it looks like it's Ryan Evans from Minnesota Freeze. They call him Rhino. He's built like a rhino too. Waiting on the umpire now. She throws it in. It's a flat throw. Umpire's going to say, let's just try that again, shall we? Come on in a couple of steps and give it another hoist. Oh, a little bit of confusion there. Umpire's directing traffic. Let's see if we can get her going now. There we go. That's probably good enough. Big high punch out of the ruck to the center of the ground. Minnesota gets his hands on it, tries hard, to get it, but actually kicks it off the ground. Chicago sweep the numbers around the back. It's a scramble right now. There's about 20 players all in the vicinity of the ball. Oh, off the ground by the Chicago, but he gets it back miraculously and rolls it out on the half-forward flank. There's a speedy little Chicago guy. Couldn't quite control the bounce. Someone come flying in over the top. It's still yet to be hit out. Too high on the big ruckman. Someone carelessly came in, jumped right on the head. So he backs up. He takes a couple of seconds, brings it on quickly. Werner and his defender are fighting for the ball. Not a great handball, but the meaning was right. Fashon sweeps out, breaks the tackle, lines it up, and drives it out. Umpire didn't even move. Look at that. Nice ground. Nice goal there. That evens up the score for the quarter. Minnesota's scored 2 goals this quarter, and so has Chicago. Chicago has added a couple of behind. So the scores right now: 7 goals 1 to Minnesota, to 6 goals 2 to Chicago. Umpire's about to ball it up again. Throws it up. Looks like Hansen's playing a tagging role on the damaging midfielder for Chicago. Fashon didn't know what to do with it. Decided to throw it up. The umpire didn't call it. Probably called him, but too high. Just got that one hand slipped over the shoulder. Wasn't a bad tackle, but just had that one hand over the. So Minnesota get the free kick just forward to center. It's a high floaty ball. Not doing their forwards any favours. Yep. We could see that the Chicago player got into the back of the Freeze captain, Andrew Werner. Actually, the Revolution captain as well. And he is right on the boundary. Having a shot from probably 40, 45 out. Decides to center it. Not a nice looking kick though. It doesn't make the distance. Minnesota trying to butter up Chicago, putting numbers at the ball. It's a wrestle. Ball's on the ground. Who can get it out? Hanson handballs out the back to Fashon. Fashon over the top to Johnson. Johnson loves a goal. No, he's little kick, dribbling kick towards the pocket. Chicago had it and lost it. Johnson again gives a nice dish to Werner. Werner straightens up and we'll wait on the umpire. He's signalling touched for a behind. Chicago's bringing in now. Kicks to the windward side. Off hands. Minnesota at the back. That's Arlo. Pony dishes a nice handball to Corby from Chicago. Chicago player makes front position. Was a good punch over the back. Ryan Evans cleans it up, and there's a nice kick right in front of the behind post for Werner. So we'll see whether this wind will play havoc on Andrew Werner right now. He is kicking almost straight into it. Probably a little bit of a cross breeze for him, but it's gusty and difficult to judge. He lines up, comes in, very deliberate, right footer, and looking for the umpire. That would be a behind. So Werner kicks another behind to the Freeze. We see a very organised Minnesota Freeze here. Setting up their defensive zone here. Chicago chip short. They beat the zone, but it's a hurried kick. He should have gone back and taken his time, but he played on, and there's a man empty in the goal square who drops it. Nice long handball from Fashon. Let's see if they can make amends here. Fashon gets it back. His kick is dribbled short and is intercepted by Chicago and knocked through for a behind. Chicago going to bring the ball in now. Let's see this full back. It's a high floaty kick to the flank. Chicago's underneath it, but Minnesota have read it now. The ball's off hands. Play was brought to the ground, but he had no prior opportunity. Ball held to him. Umpire is going to ball it up. Up goes the ball. Oh, big thump from the Chicago ruckman. Forward their direction. They handball it out forward to advantage. There's Declan from Chicago. He kicks it high. That Swan from Minnesota gets his hands on it. Handballs it out of the pack to Ryan Evans. Ryan takes his time, wanders around, goes left, goes right, chips it forward, and there's a Chicago player cut it off nicely. Chicago centers it. Oh, to the big centre forward, almost takes a nice mark on his hands. Evans had the flight but misread it, couldn't pick it up. Chicago in, swooping on the ball, handball out wide. There's their ruckman. Kicks it long. Minnesota player dives in front. Oh, and there the umpire blows the whistle for half time. Right when Chicago are going forward. And so we see our scores at half time. Minnesota, 7 goals. 5 behinds. For a total of 30. Sorry, my math there. 47 points to Minnesota. Chicago, 5 goals, 3 behinds, 33 points. We have a 14-point lead to Minnesota at the main break. Interesting quarter there. We saw Chicago, a couple of minutes into that quarter, have their reserves finally roll up. Evidently it was a vehicle breakdown on the way. It's probably a 5-hour drive from Chicago to Minnesota, and it's one of the closer drives for the Midwest teams. So they had a breakdown with a few players on board and their jumpers and that. So they got here a couple of minutes into that second quarter, and what a difference it makes with that big Chicago ruckman. He's dominating the hit-outs. It was a total reverse from the first quarter, where we saw Joe Starber from the Minnesota Freeze pretty much doing what he wanted in the center, but big turnaround. So can the Minnesota Freeze make it a change to help counteract the big Chicago ruckman? So far, a fairly high-scoring game, pretty clean. Some nice passages of play. We've seen a nice running shot on goal from Fashant. He missed it, but he was blistering out of the centre there. We saw a couple of Chicago small forwards get in, read the play nicely off the pack, snap one of those crummer goals we all love to see. It's always nice to see players present front and centre and make those hard efforts. You know they're going to get under pressure when they get that ball. So that was a nice goal. We saw a couple of nice runs by the Minnesota. Some long goals. Players are starting to get the feel for the field now. It is a little bit shorter than what they'll see at Nationals, but that makes for a nice high scoring affair. A little bit of interest in the game. Umpire's doing a great job. It's a cleanly umpired game. You wouldn't even know he was out there, actually, and that's the way a good umpire is supposed to be. Minnesota started off like a bull out of a gate. Jumped a few goals ahead. Chicago clawed back. And then with the addition of some additional players from Chicago, I think we've seen this game tighten up. With a 14-point lead to Minnesota, it's still anybody's game. Clearly the wind is not affecting either end as far as scoring. So we're going to be take a short break here, and we'll be back right before the start of the third quarter. Okay, we are back live here at Lake Nokomis in Minnesota. Twin Cities, Minneapolis is the St. Paul, where we have Minnesota Freeze in the blue and white versus Chicago Swans in the red and white. Start of the third quarter, Minnesota going to the left of screen, Chicago going to the right. Chicago making a quick change there. So tap out of the center. Minnesota kicks it wide. A big punch out over the top and it's rolled out of bounds just slightly forward in the Chicago end. So Wilhelm, big Jason Wilhelm taps it down out of the ruck for Chicago. Hansen goes nowhere with it from Minnesota. It's a quick kick, and it's out on the full Minnesota free kick, on or about the half-back line for the Freeze. Umpire telling the play to come around, he kicks it in, drops in the middle of all players, quick handball by Wilhelm to the back, a nice roving job by Chicago. Their big centre forward handballs it over the top. Oh, the Chicago player ducked his head, no call, umpire opens, so to butter it up and headed towards the boundary for another throw in. Up goes the ball, in slightly short. Freeze ruckman hits it down in front of him. He's looking like he didn't know what to do with that. Umpire calls it out again. And it'll be another throw in. Boundary's going to throw it in here. It's a nice long throw in. Ruckman go up, hit over the top by Wilhelm, but Harble reads it well. Gabiou from the Freeze kicks it back up high. Minnesota, nice hands off the mark, quick hands. Fashant didn't have it, and that's the way the umpire saw it too. And he'll get the free kick. Chicago taking their time, a little confused. Now Fashant has it. They're calling for him out wide, but he goes straight up the center of the ground. And oh, the Chicago player just double-fisted it instead of marking. Johnson reads it off the play. Kicks it out wide to Werner. Werner's heading for it, reads it nicely, shrugs off his player, takes a quick look, handballs over the top, and there's Fisher for a bit of a gimme. I think he might owe Werner a bit of a beer after that one. That was a gift, just hanging around in the goal square and gets a nice goal. So Minnesota Freeze get the first score on the board through Fisher, who did a good job running off his player and making space in that goal square. Waiting for the ball to be relayed back. Umpire Arnott gets it now in the centre. He does a quick count of numbers. 4 versus 4. We're good to go. Comes in, balls it up. Up it goes. Wilhelm hits it nicely out to his quick rover at number 2 there, who centres it. There's plenty of players there, but it bounces up nice in Chicago's player's hand. He punches it forward. That's the Freeze player. Chicago reads it again. Centres towards goal, and there's Gabiou to take a nice mark right on the last line of defence. Does an awkward looking kick up to the flank, and that would be, can't tell who that is, Harble I think, the back flank from Minnesota, kicks out to Starber. Messi they can't bring the big guy down, he still gets his kick off. And umpire says that'll be a free kick to Chicago. He centers it right in the center of the ground. The Chicago player camped there, but he can't quite take it.
Yes, he had his prior opportunity. It was a good tackle.
Got that arm pin.
Hansen gets the ball from Minnesota. Takes a look, goes really close to the man on the mark. Ugly looking kick forward.
And it's going to roll out of bounds. Waiting for the umpire to throw it in here. In it goes. It's a short one. But the Chicago get front position. Nice driving kick down the sideline. Heading towards the forward pocket, and it's going to roll out of bounds. Halfway between the forward pocket and the flank for Chicago.
Players get set. Waiting on the boundary to bring it in. Throws it in. It's a short throw. Freeze around it. Menard tries to break out of it. Sean fishes off the ground. No one can pick it up.
There we go, Starber. The ruckman tries to get it. Still nobody's ball. Hansen tries to kick it off the ground and it rolls out of bounds. It's turned into a real scrum over that other side there. There's a lot of players around the ball. Nobody can clear it out. In comes the ball again. The Chicago ruckman punches it down. Looks like Minnesota wins it out for a short kick.
Again, the Chicago player takes it and hurriedly plays on.
That kick goes straight into the Minnesota Freeze hands. That's Harble on the back flank there, looking where to go. Umpire's called play on now. It's a kick into no man's land. Oh, that's a nice mark by big Jason Wilhelm, pony boy from the Chicago Swans. He centers the ball. There's another nice mark. He got up a little early, but he made the
right judgment call on it. Took a very nice mark.
He looks like he backs himself.
In here. He's taking a shot here. Probably about 40 out. 40, 45. Kicks it long. It's in the goal square. Off hands. It's like Swan.
Picks it up and brings it back out for the Freeze. But there's
the Chicago Rover and he runs right into an open goal. That will
kill you every time, those poor kicks out of defence. And Chicago get it, an equaling goal on the board. Still 14 points down. But they're trading blows with the Minnesota Freeze right now. 1 goal apiece for the quarter. This is the championship quarter, folks. I think whoever takes control of the game right here is going to have a good shot. Right now it's an arm wrestle. They're back and forward. Waiting for the ball to be relayed up again. Umpire Arnott doing a good job. Comes in, balls it up, ball's in the air. Big men fly. Wilhelm hits it forward to no advantage. It's like a game of volleyball ball out there right now. They're just punching it around, and the Freeze player thought he had the free, but the umpire's like, my ball, son, give it to me. We're going to ball it up. Up the ball goes again. The big guys fly. Chicago hit it to their advantage, but there's nice soccer off the ground by the Chicago player. It's rolling out. Oldman has it on the boundary. There's a nice handball underneath. Oh, the Freeze player gave it right back to the Chicago player. And they've chipped it forward. There's a loose player. The Chicago runner. Oh, great tackle from behind. He tripped him, but he probably saved a goal right there. That player was running onto an open goal. It was desperation by the Freeze player. He got him in the end, but let's just see if this can, if this Chicago player can convert. Lines it up, comes in, swings slightly lefty. He's a lefty, and just that goal was just built for him. Very nice. He started it left to right, and the wind helped do the rest. So now we're down to an 8-point game. Chicago closing the gap. Minnesota have to figure out how to combat this big ruckman from Chicago if they're going to get domination of these ball ups. Another new addition is number 17 for Chicago, came in late, and he looks like he's playing centre half forward for the Swans. He's a pretty mobile player. Up goes the ball. Wilhelm taps to the back. Starbo butters up though, fights for the ball on the ground, hits it forward. There's that Chicago on ball, gets it. It's a scramble. Wilhelm's over it, but he can't pick it up. Everybody's diving on it. I think the umpire is going to ball it up here. Oh, a little bit of a howdy do after that. Umpire says, "Let's get this ball moving. Let's get it on going." And Chicago get off the back. Quick handball out the back. Long kick to the flank. It's rolling to the boundary. Oldman keeps it in, and he was called out of bounds. And he looks a little disappointed in that. In the Chicago end of the game, we're waiting on the boundary umpire. In it comes as a flat throw. Umpire say, "Let's just try that again, shall we?" Come on in a couple of paces. There we go. We'll take that. We'll get it going here. Wilhelm double taps it, gets the ball back into his hands, snaps it on his boot, goes nowhere. There's the opposing ruckman. Starbo picks it up, bangs it forward, and right on the line, Chicago player dropped it and it rolls out of bounds. He's saying, "My bad, I should have taken that." Probably disappointed in himself, but it was a tough ball. Boundary umpire throws it back in. Umpire says, "Play it on now." Quick hands. Fashon handball to nobody. Turns out it might come out in his favour. Picks it up. Turns on the nope. Does a U-turn. Handballs back in, boys. Straight to Chicago players like they read his mind. Nice knock on by Chicago and a follow-up kick. High floating ball. Harbour, good contest from behind. There's a bit of a throw there. The umpire lets it go. Clash of bodies. Freeze, clear it out. Chicago cut it off though. That was a nice hip and shoulder and cleared his way. There's Johnson, number 23 from Minnesota. Kicks a flat ball up to Fisher, but he's got the run on the ball. Can he shake his player? He snaps it back onto his right foot, and there's a touch. Yes, touch right on the line by the big Chicago fullback. He brings it in deep to the back flank. Bit of a bump. Declan reads well straight. Oh, bounces off the Chicago guy's chest. I think he heard some footsteps there. Horrible kick forward there. Allows Chicago to bounce on that ball. He swings it onto his foot and clearly out of bounds on the full in the right back pocket for Minnesota. Ball's gone halfway down. Back to Chicago. That's how far away it was kicked with the wind. So we have Ryan Evans, one of the long-time Freeze veterans, about to bring the ball in. We've got Rasmussen makes a lead, number 18. There's a low, short kick. We've got Fashon, sweeps up, takes a bounce, handballs backwards to Werner. Werner bangs it on the boot. Straight up to the back flank for Minnesota. It's a punch down. Freeze has numbers at the ball. Can't get it out though. A bit of a worrying kick forward. Tom Jeffers butters up, follow his own kick. Gets a bounce nicely. We got big number 61 from Minnesota. Ian McCormick running after it with the headband there. Handballs back nicely to his captain. He drives it across the field. We got Mick Starling does a nice read of the ball, but he dishes off a handball that puts his teammate right under pressure. There's 3 versus 2. Menard for Minnesota works it forward. Oh, gets a kick in his head for the trouble. Gets up and goes on with the game though. Harbour handball's clear to Starber. He bangs it on the boot. Chicago cuts it off. It's a high ball. Wilhelm under it. The two ruckmen fly. It's a good tackle there by Kemp. Arlo Kemp. Minnesota butter up again. They got numbers around. He bangs it forward. There's big Chris Harcoos there alone in the forward line. Who's that? Big fullback bursting through. Telling me, tackle me if you can. I don't think you can. So Minnesota was through for Shant. Cleaned it up. A nice long drive to Fisher in the forward line. And a little bit wide for him. He runs the ball out of bounds. Ball's in again. Tom Jeffers from Minnesota punches it forward. Number 2 from Chicago rows it. There's back, get the old give and go. Takes a look, directing traffic out the far side. Finds his player, but he overruns it. Ran right under the mark there. Oldman sweeps up and passes a line drive to McClune. Ryan Hanger McClune. Too far out to score. He's got to move the ball on quickly. No one's making leads for him. Kicks the ball up. Right into the centre half forward spot, and there's three Chicago players get the ball all by themselves. Clears it to the centre, number 16 from Chicago. He takes it by himself. It's a nice handball to advantage. Swans player doesn't look like he knows what to do with it there. Driscoll from Minnesota cleans it up. Finds his teammates in the midfield for Shant. Again, driving it forward, quick snap kick over the shoulder, and Jeffers from Minnesota marks. He moves it on quickly. Hanson running back with the flight. It was going to be a gutsy mark, couldn't get there. The Chicago player took an easy mark. Brings it back into play, down to the wing. Oh, there's a nice, tough Justin Harble running back with the flight of the ball mark. One of his trademarks. This guy is like a man of steel. He's not afraid of anything. Brings it in. Oh, maybe he's afraid of kicking. I don't know. He muffed that kick. He's not too happy either. So Chicago make amends here. They drive it back right in the centre of the ground. But there's McCormick who cuts it off 61. A nice handball to Albert who runs wide into the flank. Drives it deep, but there's nobody home for Minnesota. Big Chicago. The umpire called play on there. Let it go. He kicks it out and it's going to roll out of bounds. A little bit iffy. I couldn't tell whether he got first grabs at that, whether he was the only one that touched it. Umpire didn't see it that way and decided to call play on. We have the ball coming back in. Flat drive. Everyone's kind of hovering around, not really sure where it's going to go. Chicago got the numbers in the midfield now. They look out wide, a little chip kick across the ground, but they didn't see Starling come onto the field there. He drives it to the flank. Fisher uses his body well, holds his player off, and then pushes off right at the right time to control that ball onto his hands. He's going to test the breeze here. He likes himself. He fancies himself for a shot here. Probably about 35 out on an angle, kicking right into that breeze. It's a tough one. Yeah, not a very good kick, but look at that. Danny Hansen. Handsome Hansen, they used to call him back in the day when he was a single guy. And so he takes a mark in the forward pocket on an angle. It looks like he's lining up for a banana kick here. No, changes his mind and drives it straight through the middle. Umpire says all clear for a goal. 2 goals apiece in this third quarter. Maintains a 14-point lead to the Minnesota Freeze. Chicago trying desperately to make some inroads into this ball game. They just can't peg back that 14-point lead. Crowd's filled out nicely. We're probably closer to 100 people here today, enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the nice breeze, watching a great game of footy go on. We've got Wilhelm taking a break, and we got their other ruckman for Chicago in right now. Werner swings it off the back of the pack, drives it forward. Hansen takes front position, gets 2 bites of the cherry, controls it enough though to stab a nice little pass to Brent Fisher. Within scoring range, top of the goal square. Slight angle, goes back. Ooh, slots it through. From this angle, it still made it look easy. Freeze getting another one on the board. Chicago probably would have liked to have closed that gap as the umpire calls 3/4 time. It's a handy goal right on the siren there, on the whistle. So we'll give you a wrap up of the scores here. Minnesota, 8 goals, 9. 8 goals, 9. Total of 57 here. To Chicago Swans, 7 goals. Straight, sorry, 7 goals, 3. 45 points. We have a total of 12-point lead. So, correction of the score there. 10 goals, 9, 69 to Minnesota. A little 7 goals, 3, 45 to Chicago. So we have a 24-point lead to Minnesota. Exactly 4 goals. We did see in the first half that Chicago scored a lot of their goals down the end that they're about to kick to. So we'll see if they can claw back into this game. A 4-goal lead going into the final quarter. We see the Freeze making some changes. Is Coach Becker comfortable enough to bring on players and give everybody a run, or is he going to try and maintain this lead? Chicago not out of it. I'm sure they're rallying. They'd love to get a win from behind in similar circumstances to what the Freeze did to them in Chicago a couple of years ago. Just watching for their big ruckman, Jason Wilhelm, to see if he's okay. They took him off towards the end of that quarter. I don't know whether it's injury or he's out of gas. We'll soon see when he gets back on the field. Fashant has been a damaging player for Minnesota, so is Werner. Hansen up forwards, and definitely Brent Fisher for the Minnesota Freeze. He's been kicking a couple of goals. He's all over the place. He's lining up in defence, and then next thing he pops up in the forward line for an open goal. Got some hard work by Harble and Oldman down in the defence for Minnesota. Of course, for Chicago, their big ruckman has been dominant around the ground. He's keeping him in the game. Off with their rover or centre. I'm not sure where he's playing, but he's a speedy guy that's sweeping through there. If they can get that connection going again, they're right back in this game. Watching Wilhelm, he looks like he's moving around okay, so it looks like he'll be back into this game. Chicago about to come out again. Minnesota Freeze making some final adjustments, some instructions from their coach. It's either that or they were all passing the hat to see if they could get Becca a haircut. Here we go. This is the last game probably for both teams before Nationals. We're 3 weeks away, and I'm sure both teams want to go out on a high, figuring out a little bit about what's going to happen with their team at Nationals. Players trying to impress, players trying to get that extra experience and knowledge, because the Nationals tournament, by the time you get there, it's so fast and furious you don't have time to do learning on the job, so they say you got to go game one. I'm sure both these teams realise that. So we have Minnesota kicking to the right of screen and Chicago going to the left. The wind has just died off, but it is a gusty wind, and I'm sure it'll be back. We have out on the wing here, we have Declan Gallen for Chicago lined up against actually he's so new I don't even know him. Umpire gets him set, about to start his watch. The whistle goes for the start of the last quarter. Up it goes, the ruckman fly. Wilhelm's not in the ruck for Chicago again. See if I can find him on the field. They've moved him up to full forward. Chicago drive it forward. Gallen from Chicago pumps it forward. It's heading out to the boundary. Oh, that could have been a push in the back. It's a hard ball out there right now. Player goes in flying with his boots, and that should have been a mark, but it wasn't paid. Declan from Chicago has a snap. He snaps through for a behind. Harbour looking to bring it in. Umpire says you've had enough time, play on now. He dukes Pony at the full forward position, and that sort of showed up. He's hobbling bad. Ball is not quite out yet. You can see the boys are going in harder. Keep it on the field, boys. Hanson handballs over the top. Nice. Oh, bad luck, bad bounce for Johnson there. Almost set up a beautiful play by Hanson. Hanson gets in. Let's hope a game of footy can get played here. Umpire is about to ball it up. Two Chicago ruckmen go up. Gabby over runs it for the free. Chicago picks it up, bangs it on the boot. Up to the half forward. Rasmussen gets the ball in mid-air, holds it up. It's like a basketball player, and made no attempt, the umpire says. Gallen brings it in. Sweeping kick. He's looking for the big guy, and Wilhelm's got it. He's playing on one leg, basically. He still managed to get to that. Maybe this is the move Chicago need to make too. If they can pump the ball up to him. He's got sure hands. He's a good mark. Let's see what his kick is like. Lines it up. Tight angle. Kicking right into that breeze. It's a tough shot, this one. It's not glamorous. I think it's a point. Umpire says, confirms, it's a behind. Brings it in, Pony intercepts the mark, kicks it. Bangs it back. Did he get it? He thinks so. Umpire says one behind. Oldman for the Minnesota Freeze. They call him Padre. Oh, umpire's called something here. What has he seen? Did he kick out of the square? It looks like it. In that case, the umpire will ball it up right at the top of the goal square. You got to believe with Wilhelm here, if he can find a player for a quick snap, they'll be back into this. Up the ball goes. He try and grabs it out of the rucks. Kick off the ground. Minnesota clear it. Oh, it's a handball over top, but he gets it back again for Shant. A long driving kick finds Werner. Nice mark right out in front. He brings it on quickly. Centres it right to Fisher, right in the middle of the ground. Couldn't read it. Turns it around. Has a long look at goal. Umpire doesn't move. And there's a quick answer. Two kicks, well, 3 kicks down the ground, and we get a goal out of that. That's a nice bit of play for Minnesota. Back to the center of the ground now. Minnesota extend their lead. Umpire Arnott throws it up. A nice tap by Big Joe Starber right there. Fashant doesn't know which way to go. Big handball out wide. Can the player run onto it? No, can't read the bounce. Andrew Werner swoops on the ball, swings onto his left foot, drives it forward. It's over the forward's head. Fisher sees it out of bounds for Minnesota, and we'll have a throw in the left forward pocket for Minnesota. Right back pocket for Chicago. Players do their own ball ins. There's a nice high ball in. Hansen gets hands on. Ryan Evans takes a snap out of the pack. All clear, says the umpire. And that's an opportunist goal if I've ever seen one. Nicely read off the nicely read by young Ryan Evans from Minnesota. That makes Chicago's job just that little bit tougher with a 6-goal lead now to Minnesota. Can they run this thing out? Will Chicago get back into it? They've brought in their ruckman here. The initial starting ruckman, number 16. He turns his back on it. Chicago do a nice job turning the ball around the corner up to the centre half forward for them. But there goes Ullman. The Padre, he runs out, gets a give and go. He keeps on running. Look at those legs going out there. Lucky legs. There, Fisher's got the speed on his defender, who gave up on him, I think, and Fisher runs in for an easy goal. 3 straight goals for Minnesota in this quarter. Chicago 3 behinds for this quarter. A lot of tired boys out there now. They've been running around in this heat for 3.5 quarters. It's been a fairly high-paced game. Lots of goal scoring. Umpire Arnott, Steve Arnott, comes in to ball it up again. Up it goes. The big men fly. It's a straight up in the air again to him. The Chicago player's got it, but Minnesota freeze cuts him off. There's Ryan Evans. Gets rid of the ball to no one. Chicago handballs it up in the air. There's a big hit out there. Who we got there? Fashant goes down. Looks like he broke his own ankles. He was trying to turn so fast. Umpire's picked out a free kick to Minnesota. He drives it long. Werner on a lead. It was just a little bit too slow for him. He had to stop and prop. He's still fighting it though. Can't get tackled. He handballs wide. Tom Jeffers. who kicks a nice shot around his body. Easy as you like. Not exactly an orthodox kick, but very effective. Minnesota piling on the goals now. 4 goals to 0 in this quarter. That takes them to about an 8-goal lead. Waiting for the ball to be relayed back. Finally, it gets back to the umpire now. We reset and go again. Umpire comes in, throws it up. Ruckman can test it. It's a knock forward by the Freeze Ruckman. McCormick wins it, handballs it wide. It's back into a pack. No one can win possession, and the umpire says, "Give it to me, boys. I'll take it. We'll ball it up." They get reset. Up it goes again. It's a tap backwards by Minnesota. They can't quite get an effective kick. It's pumped forward. Chicago read it well, attacked the ball, but it's a grubber line driver straight into his own player. He hooks it around the body. He doesn't look, and there's a Minnesota player sitting there. And we get a little game of tennis here, back and forward. I think these guys are just trying to rack up their stats now. It's a high, chippy ball. It's cut off by Fashon, and it's heading to the boundary, and we will have a ball in. The umpire will throw it in here. Players are getting set. Up it goes. No one can get a hand on it though. Gabiu punches it forward for the Freeze. Napone kicks it out straight back to Rasmussen and drops it. Can't quite get it off the ground. Big Joe Starbo gets slung. He gets rid of it as he gets slung. There's Bartman. Johnson can't get his hand on it. The Chicago player tries to burst through, but he couldn't. Freeze cut it off. Fashon spins around. Bangs it at goal. And umpire says it was offline for a behind. See Freeze making some changes here. Young Jared Even coming on the field, first year player. Ball's kicked out. It's a nice mark by the Chicago big guy back there on the back flank. He centers the ball up to the wing. It's a floaty kick. Players fly. No one. Arlo Kemp does his best to keep it in front of him. Ball is up in the air. Can they clear it out? Nobody can clear it out. Still scrambly. Chicago player's got it. He can't get rid of it. Here we go. We might get a clearance. Oh, there's a kick in danger. Freeze get the free kick. Arlo brings it in. Oh, nice diving mark by Danny Hansen. Right in front of goal. Probably about 35 out. He should make the distance. Will the accuracy be there for him? He brings it back. The wind is doing its thing. Bringing it back. The umpire runs to the right, and he's missed to the left. So we get another behind for Minnesota. Minnesota 14 goals 11 to Chicago 7 goals 6. An 8-goal lead to the Freeze. We're probably halfway through the last quarter now. I think time's running out for Chicago. They bring it in, chip kick in. Nice positioning, body positioning by that Chicago player. Takes the mark in front. It's a little kick, chip kick again. Chicago player couldn't quite get to it. And a Freeze, I think that was kicked through from behind by that Minnesota player. Couldn't see who that was. That's Ian McCormack, new player for the Freeze. He's a big solid guy. Kick out there for shot from Freeze, makes an attempt at it. Who's that sweeping around? Starling swoops onto it. Umpire's got his hands in his pockets and says it's a behind. The way he was looking there, I thought he was so confident it was a goal. Can Chicago get it out there? The Freeze have the forward press going on. It makes it hard to get that ball out of their defense when they get that set up. Here we go. Chicago bring it right down the centre. Ill-advised. Found it in the Freeze hands, but we've got Arlo Kemp cuts the ball off. Players are calling for him. He's taking his time. I think he fancies himself here. He's going to have a big bomb at it. Tygo Werner's leading for it. Chicago, Arlo ignores him and then says, yeah, we'll lead Tygo after all. And the ball goes out of bounds. So we're deep in the right-hand forward pocket for Minnesota. The ball's being brought back in. It's a nice throw in. Hansen takes front position. Werner reads the play, bursts out, gives it to Evans, who snaps a short one at goal. There's Hansen, crumbing the goal off the pack. Runs onto his left and snaps a nice goal for Danny Hansen. The Freeze go out to 15 goals, 12, leading Chicago 7 goals, 6. Unfortunately, we got the wind flowing down that end and it's taking the ball all the way through. This is where you need a bunch of kids hanging around the back of the goal to be able to shuck those balls back in for the players. Not now, but looking at this Freeze turnout, maybe in the future we'll have plenty of kids hanging around here looking for a kick by one of their superstar players, their idols. One day, not yet though. So the ball up, Chicago try to run on. He thought about that player, thought about soccering off the ground, and then changed his mind. Fashont wins the ball, sweeps out of the pack, kicks around the corner, across his body, goes all the way across the field. It's rolling out. The bounce has kept it in though. There's Starling there, chips it in, a short kick. There's young Jared. Jared even just tries to get a handball off there. Fisher weaves through traffic, turns one way, twists the other, squares it back up. Werner flies for it, but a nice mark to the Chicago player. Good body position right in front. He's a tall guy. Kicks it back out to where it came. Off hands. There's a nice little read, a handball backwards. But great smother by Tom Jeffers there, and the ball is too late, out of bounds. It's a great effort. So we're going to throw the ball in. Chicago players down the front and centre of them. The ruckman's out of position. Fashont grabs it, works the ball forward, picks it up, turns the Jets on. I think he ran out of bounds, but the ball was inside. Tiger flies from behind but can't get it. There's Fisher reading off the pack again. These two guys are working nicely together. Shrugs to tackle. Werner does a banana kick. Umpire doesn't move, says right through the middle. Freeze have a nice combination of Werner and Fisher working up forward, with Hansen working further up the field. I guess a lot of it goes towards both these players are on the Revolution, both playing similar roles on the Revolution. So they've got a little bit of synergy. They've played together for quite some time. Umpire Arnott brings it back to the centre again. Ball up. The Chicago ruckman knocks it straight down the ground, but the Minnesota Freeze in Kemp cuts it off. Handballs. They're working it wide. There's a bit of a scrum. There's 15 players all in on that ball right now. Big Chris Harkus for the Freeze. He misses the bounce. There's young Zach Swan. Kicks nicely to Hansen. Hansen plays on immediately. Looks up the ground. Fisher's got the set. Sun might have got his eyes. He dropped that one. Chicago's butter up. It's a high kick. Evans punches nicely. There you go. Chicago run. He takes a bounce. He dodges inboard. He kicks a little short one. Looking for the Chicago player there. And ball goes out of bounds. Umpire blows the whistle right in front of the crowd there. We're about to see a throw in here. It's on about the half-forward flank for Chicago, right on the boundary. The ruckman take position. Starber hits it forward for Sean. Can he read the bounce? Blitzes in, turns, takes a bounce. One bounce. Kicks off the side of the boot and out on the full. Conservation of excellence, I think some of our players call that. He does a fantastic job. Weaving through traffic, takes a bounce, only for that kick to let him down. I'm sure he's a hard guy himself, so he's probably not happy with that. And looks like the umpire has blown the whistle for full time. So, final scores here. Minnesota. Minnesota 16-12, 108. Chicago 7 goals, 6, 48. A comfortable, it turned out to be a 10-goal win by Minnesota, 60 points. Yeah, final scores again. Minnesota 16-12, 108 to Chicago 7-6, 48. That's full time here. We see the players lining up for the traditional line outs here. Congratulations. We're going to take a break and we'll be back with some interviews. Kinga, you want to go get the Chicago coach for me?
Chicago coach?
Yeah.
We were going to feed you, but apparently you've got
He's
business.
dressing it down.
Oh.
We got a big dinner tonight. Okay, you want Tammy?
Are we live yet?
Thanks for coming on.
All right, so we're just going to do a little interview here. This is Diesel live. So, Coach Becker of the Freeze, what do you think about? What do you think about? Yeah, we have a camera too. About the game here.
It was a good match, I thought. We've put a lot of structures in the last, 2 months, and it's rare that you get the whole team together. So to see everyone show up on a game day is always good, but then to see them start to grow into what we've been practicing for the first time is delightful.
Were you worried at all when the big pony boy rolled up a little late? He jumped straight in the game and started winning everything in the air.
Yeah, his first tap he went backwards, which I'd never seen him do before, and I hadn't planned for it. So that was a bit of a surprise. No, he controls the ball well, and then he rolled his ankle, and I think we've got one of the women players who's an ophthalmologist looking at that.
We've got the ophthalmologist on the job. So the boys were moving the ball fairly well in the first half. They're running to space, kicking the ball, and then things got a little tight. So what do you tell your players when it gets crowded and everybody's diving in trying to win the ball?
Well, so I mentioned looking at the structures and things getting better throughout the game. At three-quarter time, it was apparent that when we had the ball, we were moving forward really well, and when we turned it over, they were running and we were jogging. And that was the thing where we cannot let them run by us at the end of the game. We got to finish out 4 quarters, as they say.
So you got to be happy with a couple of your new guys that actually played for Chicago. Those little speedy guys did a pretty good job. You happy with them?
Yeah, I mean, whenever a visiting team says they're going to do their best to travel, and then maybe they're a little bit light on numbers, I always ask for volunteers because it happens quite a bit. It's just the nature of a volunteer sport. And when I put the word out, I had some really good players offer. And I wasn't going to ask guys who didn't offer if I didn't have to. So we did give them some really good talent, and it was good to see them. I think they improved throughout the day as well. Hopefully they saw what we were doing and tried to learn our structures, but at least they had a good run.
I did notice when they second quarter they did start to handball more constructively, almost picking up off what the Freeze were doing. So that's kind of good to see that maybe that little influence helps other teams. Now let's talk about Nationals. What do you think? You guys going D2, D1, D4? What's the deal?
Well, D4 for sure. In my opinion, D2 for sure. We're not a Division I team. I mean, we're trying to get better at the footy brain, but it's just some of the stuff is not what you would see out of a team that's half Australian. And we've got a few Australians that are more grow the culture, but not the guns that you see at the Division I level. So we may end up in Division I. We may not have a choice in the matter, but we're a Division II level squad solidly, in my opinion.
So Columbus last year at Nationals brought a couple of really fine
Players down the spine. They had their centre half back, centre half forward. You see, you've got a couple of big guys in there, a couple of new guys this year that look like they can maybe handle the pressure of some bigger guys. But traditionally, we're a smaller team, and we look pretty fast. Do you see any change in your game plan, whether
you're going to
try and muscle out
body these guys, or are you going to try and use your speed more?
Well, it's a game of the midfield these days, and even our forward pockets have to think like midfielders. So the more run we have in our legs, and the more we know where to go when we don't have the ball, which is about 99% of the time, the better we're going to be. So I'd like to see us play smart and hard.
What are you going to work on between now and Nationals without?
Well, some of the things that we started to implement today, we're going to drill pretty hard, and leaving loose guys at stoppages is one thing that we talked about, but there's no replacement for physical repetitions of some of the things you're trying to teach. So we're definitely going to practice some musical chairs and picking up loose guys and that type of thing.
Well, good job, undefeated for the season.
Thank you, Dad.
It's even rare that happens, even with all the travel and the teams we play against. So it's a tough comp up here. Chicago, particularly, are always a tough team. So beating him in Chicago and home. It's a great effort, and hopefully this will take you forward with a good head start for nationals, mate.
Thanks, Dale. And by the way, you know we've come a long way when we have an esky with footies in it. That's just like the pros.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
So I got the Chicago coach on hand right now. Coach, you want to come in, introduce yourself? We've got the camera up there. Let's talk a little bit about the game.
Yeah, Anthony Hendry from Chicago Swans, and pretty disappointed about today's effort. But the last quarter they were just too solid for us in the end. A lot of class in that midfield. Yeah.
So how's your season going so far? Who else have you played?
In the Midwest and that. Where have you played?
Well, last week we played Ohio Valley, and the week before that we played Nashville, and we were able to get 2 nice home wins, which was pretty good. The trouble is, when you travel up here with 16 players, it's always going to be tough because these guys are, red hot. So this time of the year coming into nationals, those guys are as fit as a fiddle. So we've got some work to do. We're going to go back to the drawing board and take stock and reload. So we'll be all set for nationals.
So what sort of good stuff did you see out of today that you think you can build on?
Well, I think the endeavour. I couldn't fault the endeavour. I thought second and third quarter we played really well. One thing that is a big problem here is we don't get paid to play football. So a lot of the guys work. They can't make training, so it's really tough. But it showed in that last quarter when fatigue set in, we just weren't able to roll with it, and they just rolled over the top of us. So that's something we've got to work on. You've got to be able to run out 4 quarters, especially at nationals. The second half of the second game, that's where it's going to tell on us. So we've got a lot of work to do fitness wise. Like I said, the endeavour I thought was great. We're in and under. We just didn't quite have the polish that Steve and Danny and Tiger add to that team. So a lot of good things to work on.
So Wilhelm's ankle's all right. Is he, Pony Boy's going to be good? Yeah, I see you played him up forward in that last quarter. He was hobbling a little bit, still managed to get his hands on the ball, but just a rolled ankle. Is that the deal?
Yeah, it looks like it's just rolled. I mean, we've got a couple of blokes with a few niggles, but this time of the year, there's no point risking it when you got Steve and all the boys just running rampant on you. So it's better be safe than sorry and wrap it up in ice.
He's such a valuable player to you guys too. When he came on late in that second quarter there, and when he ran on the field, it just changed your makeup, and suddenly you were winning the ball. Your guys were running to advantage. You were working the handball. I thought, oh, here we go. This looks like a good matchup going on here. So, do you have any? Obviously, you probably got some players that didn't make this trip, but what's your numbers look like over back home? Are you going to have a solid team for nationals?
It hasn't been too bad. We've probably lost about 6 key players that would walk into that side, and probably 5 or 6 players that couldn't make the trip today for various reasons. So, we are pretty solid. We just have a struggle this time of the year trying to get blokes to travel. Knowing that we're going to Ohio in about 3 weeks. So yeah, I mean, I guess this weekend's a good wedding weekend too. We always run second against weddings, so
it doesn't everybody. Yeah. So full team at nationals, you reckon? Full squad for your.
Look, like I said, we've lost a few. We haven't picked up a whole lot more. So I expect we'll have 25. Head down there, maybe up to 30, but definitely a good 25.
So,
really good shape.
Excuse my ignorance, but where did you guys finish last year? How'd you guys go? D2, right?
We played D2. We struggled a little bit. Once again, you need to get your best players. If you're going to play D2, you need your number 1 string players, and we probably lacked a little bit of polish in the forward line, and we have lost a solid forward line player. So, fingers crossed we can put it all together.
Oh, well, thanks, Anthony. Thanks for coming along, mate, and enjoy your beer. Take something from this, go home,
and we'll see you at nationals.
All right, thanks, mates. Let's get. Hey, could someone find